Coming up on Phillies Nation, sponsored by BQ Basement Systems, Pat and Corey discuss Cole Hamels' first start and what it means for the Phillies rotation. The guys also talk about the rising strikeout numbers from Ryan Howard and Marlon Byrd. Jay Floyd checks in with top prospect J.P. Crawford, and I've got the Batters Inbox questions. That's all ahead on Phillies Nation.
Welcome to the latest edition of Phillies Nation, brought to you by BQ Basement Systems. We are here at McStew's Irish Pub in Levittown, PA, just off of New Falls Road. Pat Gallen and Corey Simon with you. We'll hear from Ryan Williams and Jay Floyd in just a little bit. But first, we begin with the return of co-ace Cole Hamels. He returns to the Phillies this week after a layoff due to bicep tendonitis. That's obviously going to help the Phillies rotation. Looking back to last season, though, he's just one of the most consistent pitchers in all of baseball. In 2013, though, you look at his numbers and something stands out. That's obviously his 8-14 record, a .360 ERA, but the rest of his stats, the same Cole Hamels. 220 innings, over 200 strikeouts, a WAR over 4. And for the last couple of seasons, like I said, one of the most consistent pitchers in baseball. Last year, though, didn't look as good. I thought it was still the old Cole Hamels.
Well, if you look since 2011, Cole Hamels in 95 starts has a .315 ERA, which so on the surface that should boost the Phillies starting pitching staff greatly. But if the Phillies don't score for him as they've done in recent years, one of the worst run supports in all of baseball, and if the bullpen doesn't protect his leads, I don't know if it's going to make a huge difference here. Cole Hamels, yes, one of the top 15 pitchers in baseball. Since 2011, .315 ERA, whip under 1.10, 8.5 strikeouts per 9 innings. But again, if the other parts of this team don't step up, I don't know how much of an impact Cole Hamels is actually going to make.
It does come down to the offense, and then, of course, the bullpen on the backside. Will they be able to hold these leads for any of the pitchers, Cole Hamels included? And here's the look at the rotation, and it starts obviously with Cliff Lee. So it goes Lee, Burnett, then Hamels slides in as the number 3 to break up the lefties, Kendrick and Hernandez. And really the deal with the rotation as a whole is they're just not going deep enough in games, and they're overtaxing the bullpen early on in the season. They just need more from their starters, plain and simple.
Philly starting pitchers through Sunday, through the series at Coors Field, were last in the National League in wins and last in the National League in innings pitched. So Cole Hamels will help that because he's not going to go 5 1/3 or 5 2/3 innings like Roberto Hernandez has done a couple times. With the Phillies pitching staff, with a 4.40 ERA from the rotation, way higher than the National League average, that's going to need to improve because starting pitching has to be the strength of this team.
You're absolutely right. Well, if I had to ask you, of the other 4 pitchers, you mentioned Kendrick has been pretty consistent so far. Who of the others needs to step up most?
I think that it's clear that A.J. Burnett has to be the guy that they paid $16 million for. You know, he looked really good last Thursday in his first outing since being diagnosed with the inguinal hernia, and he says that he thinks it's going to be a blessing in disguise. It's shortening his stride. It's enabling him to stay more in the strike zone. I don't know if that's going to stick around going forward, though. I don't know if he can make 30 starts with a hernia.
Sure.
So he's the guy they need the most production out of. I said at the beginning of the season they needed 60 starts out of Hamels and Burnett combined. If they do get that, they should be in good shape.
I agree. I think Burnett is that guy. You expect Cliff Lee and Cole Hamels to be the guys of old, and the guys in the 4 and 5 spot in the rotation. That's why they're there. That's why Kendrick and Hernandez are at the end of the rotation. Well, part of the problem as to why they can't get these starters any wins is the offense. They just can't score enough runs and do it at the right time. And specifically Ryan Howard and Marlon Byrd. They have been absolute strikeout machines so far this season. Not a good sign. And we've been talking a lot about Ryan Howard and what he's been bringing to the table. He's been sort of all over the place. Now, on Sunday, he had a great game at Coors Field, nearly hit for the cycle, but overall, they're just striking out way too much in the middle of the order.
Yeah, it's become a cliche for people to say that Ryan Howard can strike out as much as he wants as long as he gives you the power numbers, and to a certain degree, that's true. But it's not true when Marlon Byrd's striking out even more the spot after Ryan Howard in the lineup. Marlon Byrd has struck out in 31% of his plate appearances this season. That's not what you thought you were getting from Marlon Byrd. It's about 12 percentage points higher than his career strikeout rate, and that's something that can't continue in the middle of the Phillies order.
You're absolutely right about that. And you could say that Marlon Byrd is actually slumping rather quietly because the focus has been on Chase Utley's good start to the season in the 3 spot and then Ryan Howard's sort of demise in the 4 spot. Byrd kind of slides in there between Ryan Howard and Dominic Brown, who's actually played pretty well, but they're going to need a lot more out of Marlon Byrd. And another guy that sort of flies under the radar that we talked a lot about early on and how great his plate appearances were, that's Carlos Ruiz. He still does not have an RBI yet this season.
Yeah, Chooch it's again a pretty quiet slump. Now, the on-base percentage is high. It's around 350 because of all the walks, but hasn't been driving the ball, hasn't really been giving you the extra base hits that you're used to. I'm not worried about Carlos Ruiz at all, though, because he tends to have these little skids, and he'll break out of it. The power numbers will come, the homers will come. He's still a safe bet to hit like 280, 360 OBP, maybe 12 homers, give you 30 doubles. That would be good out of Carlos Ruiz.
Okay, so the offense is a bit of a problem. The bullpen is a problem as well, and it's, again, something that we have discussed. And it starts with guys like Jake Diekman, who they're putting a lot on his plate. Does he deserve that much on his plate? And you would think, okay, Jake Diekman, lefty, throws hard, but he's really having trouble with right-handed batters. And he had trouble over the weekend with a lefty and Justin Morneau, who hit a home run off of him. They're expecting a lot from him. Are they expecting too much from a guy like him?
Well, I don't think they're expecting too much, because if you look at the bullpen, he has the best stuff, by far the best stuff of anybody in that pen. A 96, 97 mile per hour fastball, a biting slider. The problem is he has an 8.5 ERA. He's been giving up runs pretty consistently here. The stuff hasn't turned into results yet. I think that they have to keep throwing him out there because he has the most potential out of all these young relievers, and he's the one who can give you the most going forward if he can finally build that confidence on a nightly basis. But right now they lack any sort of late inning option other than Jake Diekman. Antonio Bastardo putting guys on base a ton. Mike Adams still easing his way back in, so really who do you turn to? And
they wanted to turn to a guy like B.J. Rosenberg, who Ryan Sandberg really talked highly of before the season began, and it just hasn't worked out with him either.
B.J. Rosenberg, another guy, great stuff, 94 mile per hour fastball, but it's straight, it's flat, and you can't keep sending him out there in pressure situations if he keeps allowing base runners. Sunday, for example, he got out of his inning cleanly, but it was only because of a brilliant double play started by Jimmy Rollins on a dive, throws home. So this bullpen lacks a lot of creative options that Ryan Sandberg can turn to.
And it hasn't been all bad. We got to give props to the California kid, Mario Hollins. He's had a pretty good start to his career. I mean, he was in Clearwater last season, so that's been quite a find for the Phillies. Coming up here on Phillies Nation, we'll hear from Ryan Williams and Jay Floyd. Don't go anywhere. More Phillies Nation coming right back.
I'm Brian Quinn. I'm the owner of BQ Basement Systems. We've grown to be the leader in the waterproofing industry in the Philadelphia region, and we love our Phillies down here. Our goal is when a customer comes away dealing with us, that customer at the end of the day is going to say yes. I'm Brian Quinn of BQ Basement Systems, and we've been in business since 1997.
McStew's Irish Sports Pub in Levittown is a great place for sports fans. Come out and watch your favorite Philly teams on our 18 high-definition TVs. We've been voted best of Bucks for our game day atmosphere, our drink specials, and our one-of-a-kind wings. And if you can't stick around, stop by our takeout store to pick up your favorite domestics, imports, and craft beers from all around the world. Visit us at facebook.com/McStews for info on all of our upcoming events. McStew's Irish Sports Pub at Bristol Oxford Valley Road and New Falls Road.
We're very excited to implement a program called 8 Weeks to Wellness. At Summit Spine and Wellness, we combine chiropractic care, massage therapy, customized nutrition, personal training, and meditation. If you want to improve your health, take the 8 Week to Wellness Challenge like Dan, who lost 32 pounds, 6 inches off his waist, and 94 points off his cholesterol. We use a customized wellness score to measure your health and develop a diet and fitness plan just for you. Call our office at 215-487-2500 and ask about getting set up for your wellness score.
In a world where bankers have lost all interest, where robots and fat cats rule our fortunes, one woman will stand up and strive to do the impossible. Be treated like a person. Friends and neighbors will join her quest. Ordinary people will band together against the forces of corporate greed. And together they will form Philadelphia Federal Credit Union, already in a neighborhood near you.
Phillies Nation is presented by BQ Basement Systems, the Philadelphia region's premier basement contractor.
Hey, Jay Floyd out here for Phillies Nation TV. We're in Lakewood, New Jersey at First Energy Park, checking out the sights and sounds of the opening home series for the Class A Lakewood Blue Claws. And while there's a ton of young, talented players on this roster, one of those players is standing out among the crowd. 19-year-old J.P. Crawford was selected by the Phillies 16th overall last year, the team's highest pick in 12 years. After less than a full season as a pro, expectations are high for the California native. His manager last year with Lakewood, former Phillies All-Star Mickey Morandini, who is newly assigned as bench coach with the AAA Iron Pigs, expects that Crawford could be among the first players he coached in Class A to catch up to him at Lehigh Valley.
It means a lot, but I still got to do my thing on the field. I got to prove that I could get there the fastest. I'm just going day by day. If I get moved up, I get moved up. I still got to just play my game and have fun out here.
He's going to be a good one. He's just got to go through a process here of playing some here in the Sally League and go from there.
Crawford is well aware of the anticipation that surrounds him, so no matter how talented the coaches and scouts might say he is, he's got work to do in order to prove himself as worthy of climbing the developmental ladder for the Phils.
I'm doing good, but you still got to keep playing the game, still got to keep playing hard.
The sport of baseball is deeply ingrained in JP, whose cousin Carl Crawford, a 3-time MLB All-Star, has proven that athletics are in the blood.
He's my cousin, but I'm going to try to be better than him.
Good genes are a beautiful thing. I think that helps him the way he carries himself, the self-confidence he has. And he's been really good around the other guys. When somebody's maybe not having a good game, he's there to pat him on the back, so he's got leadership qualities as well.
Even down to his siblings, the shortstop's family is wildly competitive. He feels the drive to stand out has helped each of them excel at their own game.
Eat the fastest, who can hit the fastest, who can go up in the batting cages more. So it's helped me a lot. I'm taught to win.
Another connection that has helped Crawford thus far in his short career is his childhood friend and high school teammate, ready pitcher Shane Watson, who was the Phils' top draft pick, also out of Lakewood High School in 2012.
We've been playing together since literally we were 5 years old. T-ball ever since high school until now.
Crawford's been impressive from day one as a pro. Manager Greg Legg noticed exceptional poise and characteristics beyond his years from the get-go upon joining the Blue Claws late last season.
His presence on the field and his self-confidence is probably the two things that stand out for me as far as personality goes.
Jersey Shore baseball fans are in for a show as they get the opportunity to see the talented youngster play shortstop, but many feel that may not last long as Crawford appears ready for bigger challenges.
Obviously, he's got to come here and play his way out of here, which I believe he will. I can't tell you a timetable at all. I don't know that. But I think a lot of it's just what JP does, how he plays. Things like that. He'll take care of that.
We're all the same players. It's just because I'm first round doesn't mean anything now. I still got to go out and play, work just as hard as everybody else.
For Phillies Nation TV, I'm Jay Floyd.
Thank you, Jay. Some good stuff there from Lakewood. Let's go down on the farm, like Bob Evans said, and look at JP Crawford's numbers through Sunday. A 286 average, a 730 OPS. Not a bad start to his season so far. 5 walks, 9 strikeouts, and 4 steals. Not bad.
JP Crawford's the most complete of all the Phillies shortstop prospects. Roman Quinn, most of a speed guy. You look at Freddie Galvis, a defensive guy. Cesar Hernandez still learning the position of shortstop. So the hope is that JP Crawford is the Phillies shortstop of the future.
Let's look at a couple of pitchers who had pretty good outings last weekend, and it always starts with Jesse Biddle. He was pretty good on Friday against Harrisburg. 7 innings, he struck out 11. We want to see more of that.
Yeah, it seems to be boom bust with Jesse Biddle these last 2 years. It's either a 7-inning, 10-strikeout performance, or he lasts 3 1/3.
And Severino Gonzalez as well Saturday. 6 innings, 3 runs, no walks, 5 strikeouts so far this season. He's only walked 4 and he struck out 16.
Under the radar pitching prospect for the Phillies. His ERA is below 2 for his career, and he could be a guy that you see in the middle of the rotation in a couple years.
Not so under the radar is Maikel Franco. Through Sunday, it has been ugly. He had a better game on Sunday, but he's only got a 417 OPS so far this season.
Yeah, it's a shame because Cody Ashe's had a pretty rough start to the season with the Phillies, and if Maikel Franco came out and started hitting to begin this season in the minors, you might have brought him up because to give him an opportunity at third base, but he didn't hit in spring training. He's not hitting now.
Don't go anywhere. We come back with Ryan Williams and the Batter's Inbox next here on Phillies Nation.
At Village Catering, we're committed to making your event one to remember. We are family owned and operated, and for more than 30 years, we've made our mark on Philadelphia as a go-to caterer for all of your special events. We're also the official caterer of the Flyers and Soul and the preferred caterer of Temple Athletics. We will work with you at customizing your off-site event, or you can have your event at our on-site facility, the Cottage Green, so that you'll feel like a guest at your own party. Contact us at 215-698-1117 or villagecatering.com and we'll help you make a memory today.
McStew's Irish Sports Pub in Levittown is a great place for sports fans. Come out and watch your favorite Philly teams on our 18 high-definition TVs. We've been voted Best of Bucks for our game day atmosphere, our drink specials, and our one-of-a-kind wings. And if you can't stick around, stop by our takeout store to pick up your favorite domestics, imports, and craft beers from all around the world. Visit us at facebook.com/McStews for info on all of our upcoming events. McStew's Irish Sports Pub at Bristol Oxford Valley Road and New Falls Road.
I'm Brian Quinn. I'm the owner of BQ Basement Systems. We've grown to be the leader in the waterproofing industry in the Philadelphia region, and we love our Phillies down here. Our goal is when a customer comes away dealing with us, that customer at the end of the day is going to say yes. I'm Brian Quinn of BQ Basement Systems, and we've been in business since 1997.
Phillies Nation is filmed each week at McStew's Irish Pub in Levittown, PA. Here's what's going on this week.
Welcome back to Phillies Nation, presented by BQ Basement Systems. We're here at McStew's, and it's time for our Batter's Inbox, where the guys debate your topics, and I'll pick the winner. Guys ready?
Let's go. Do it.
All right, our first question asks, what is your take on Jonathan Papelbon's rant about the movement and velocity of his pitches? Corey?
My take is that Jonathan Papelbon is correct in that late life and bite on a fastball are more important than the velocity. I would take a 90-mile-per-hour fastball that moves at the end over a straight 94 like we see from B.J. Rosenberg. But at the same time, Jonathan Papelbon was incorrect in using Roy Halladay as an example, because Halladay's declining velocity was a harbinger of what was to come for him, which led to retirement. And for Papelbon, look no further than his first outing in Texas. He was hitting 90-91 on the gun, and he wasn't effective. Compare that to 93 like he's done in his last 6 outings. Papelbon's velocity is important. It's not right for him to completely downplay it.
Yeah, my take on Jonathan Papelbon is that he is one crazy character. However, he does make good points, and I do agree. Of course, movement is important with all pitchers, especially closers. But look no further than his numbers from Boston just a couple of seasons ago. When he was hitting 95 miles an hour, he was blowing pitches by guys. They couldn't catch up to him. And that's what made him one of the best closers in all of baseball. You're seeing it 90 and 91. He's not getting it past these guys. And go to that first series against Texas. He tried to go 91 past Adrian Beltre. No, it's not going to work that way. So he needs the velocity. That's why I think it's so important with him. And he doesn't really have an out pitch either. It's his fastball. It's always been his fastball. He's got a decent enough splitter, but that for years, if he's blowing it by guys at 95, 96, he didn't have to worry about anything. Now he has to.
And the silver lining could be that the fact that his fastball isn't as sharp as it used to be might force him to throw that slider and throw that splitter more often, and it might make him more effective overall.
Well, sorry, Pat. I'm going to go with Corey on this one.
There you go.
Fine.
Our next question asks, what are your thoughts on the new home plate rules, good or bad?
Bad. And I want to see them collide into each other like they did in the old days. I know that that's not what they want in the game and that injuries are a part of it, but come on, it's been a couple of fluke injuries. You remember Buster Posey breaking his leg. It's only been a few of these times, and I understand the want to keep these guys healthy. It's important. Catchers, some of these guys make a ton of money, Buster Posey included. But come on, it's just taking away from the game, and it's too gray. There's too much of a gray area with this rule. You saw in the Phillies-Colorado series that Carlos Ruiz was blocking the plate, and by blocking, his leg was in front of the plate. There was clearly a path for the runner to touch home plate. But again, this gray area is going to kill these runners. And I don't know. I don't like it. I'd rather see the old school aspect and just let them collide into each other. But I guess we have to live with this for now.
My main issue is that between the new replay rules and the new home plate rules, it's so much to throw on guys in year one of this process. And it's when you throw that much on guys that's new, it's going to take a little while for everyone to catch up. And it kind of reminds me of the defenseless receiver hits in the NFL. That a linebacker's been trained his entire life to take out that receiver, to hit him hard. And now all of a sudden the rules have changed, and it's hard to catch up to that. It's hard for the muscle memory to catch up, and for you to say, okay, I can't block the plate here. I need to give him a lane until I actually have the ball. It's just difficult, and it kind of dilutes that entire home plate aspect of the game.
Well, Pat, it's your lucky day. I'm going to go with you on that answer.
I'll take it.
Our last question asks, when healthy, should Darren Ruff immediately return to the Phillies roster? And if so, why?
Yes, he should, because Darren Ruff's development is not as important as the Phillies' win-loss record, okay? And Darren Ruff is at the age now, he's in his late 20s, where he doesn't need further seasoning at AAA. He doesn't need to play every day the way that a Cesar Hernandez does. And right now, the Phillies' bench is sorely lacking power. We saw that over the weekend when you have to turn to Jason Nix in the 7th inning with runners in scoring position. The Phillies' bench needs some power, needs some plate discipline. Darren Ruff provides that in spades.
I agree with you, yes, but for a different reason. I want to see him platoon with Ryan Howard more often. Defensively, Ryan Howard clearly not the same guy that he was even a couple of years ago. He's having trouble bending over. He's having trouble picking it out of the dirt. Darren Ruff can help with that. He's a better defensive first baseman. And also with the platoon, instead of putting Ryan Howard out there against every left-hander, why not split him up? Give Darren Ruff the lefties, give Ryan Howard the righties. I know it's not going to happen that way because Ryan Howard makes so much money, but I'd like to see at least a bit of a platoon with Darren Ruff.
Well, Pat, you're on a roll today.
I win?
Yes, you
All
do.
right, I'll take it.
I'm coming for you next week, buddy.
All right, we'll see.
All right, well, that wraps up our Batters Inbox questions. Make sure you leave them for us on our Facebook and Twitter page. Don't touch that remote. We'll be right back with more Phillies news.
In a world where bankers have lost all interest, where robots and fat cats rule our fortunes, one woman will stand up and strive to do the impossible. Be treated like a person. Friends and neighbors will join her quest. Ordinary people will band together against the forces of corporate greed. And together they will form Philadelphia Federal Credit Union, already in a neighborhood near you.
I'm Brian Quinn. I'm the owner of BQ Basement Systems. We've grown to be the leader in the waterproofing industry in the Philadelphia region, and we love our Phillies down here. Our goal is when a customer comes away dealing with us, that customer at the end of the day is going to say this. I'm Brian Quinn of BQ Basement Systems, and we've been in business since 1997.
We're very excited to implement a program called 8 Weeks to Wellness. At Summit Spine and Wellness, we combine chiropractic care, massage therapy, customized nutrition, personal training, and meditation. If you want to improve your health, take the 8 Week to Wellness Challenge like Dan, who lost 32 pounds, 6 inches off his waist, and 94 points off his cholesterol. We use a customized wellness score to measure your health and develop a diet and fitness plan just for you. Call our office at 215-487-2500 and ask about getting set up for your wellness score.
Hi, I'm Tommy Green. Today we're going to talk about injuries. Specifically to a pitcher is the arm injury. A couple different types. One from the shoulder, then the elbow. You can also have wrist. It all depends on whatever happens. We've seen a lot of different injuries in the past. My injuries was the shoulder, torn rotator, labrum tears. I had a bicep tendon that was shredded up and have to do different things. To me, the shoulder is, so to speak, the toughest to come back from because that's where you generate your power, a lot of your power from the velocity. And you see a lot of guys that do have shoulder injuries struggle. The big thing these days you see a lot more of. You see a lot more elbows, it seems like, and they've got that surgery down to a science now, where they do the ligament, ulnar collateral ligament transplants, the UCL, and people come back a little stronger sometimes from that. They throw the ball better. I've seen that happen, which is they've got it down to a pretty good science. Why does it happen? Why do injuries happen? It's a violent act. You need to slow it down. If you want to learn a little bit about the pitching, a little bit, slow the motion down of a major league pitcher and watch what his arm goes through. It's not a natural act to throw a ball overhanded. It's natural to throw it underhand. That's why you see softball pitchers, they can, they throw pretty hard too from that shorter distance, and the effort they use to throw, they throw a lot of innings day in and day out. They can do it's more of a natural motion. Conditioning is a big part of it. All you can do is do your best, be religious about what you do, take care of yourself the best you can, and then the chip's gonna fall where they may. You're only one pitch away from something happening.
Thank you, Tommy. Appreciate it. Now we go to By the Numbers. We have so many numbers, it's going to make your head spin, I promise. And it starts with Cliff Lee and that ridiculous outing last week against the Braves.
I couldn't believe this when I looked this up. That night against the Braves, when Cliff Lee took a loss, a complete game loss, he's the only pitcher in the history of baseball to have more than one outing where he's lost despite allowing no more than one run and striking out at least 13 batters. Nobody else in the history of baseball has lost 2 games like that. Lee's not only lost 2 games like that, but it's his last 2 starts against the Braves.
That's insane.
So there's that, and then the other stat on Cliff Lee is that since 2010, he leads all of baseball in starts, and he's gone at least 8 innings, given up no more than 1 run and not 1. 13 of those starts. That's no run support.
That's not good.
No.
Let's go back to that series as well with that crazy stat. Maybe you heard it, maybe you didn't, but B.J. Rosenberg did not have a good outing. He is the first pitcher in the last 100 years to allow 3 home runs to the only 3 batters he faced. Also in that game, Luis Avilan became the first pitcher to be credited with a win despite allowing 5 earned runs while pitching an inning or fewer since 1934. And then to the Colorado Rockies series was a lot of runs in Game 1, not so many in Game 2, and then back to Old Coors Field in Game 3.
Yeah, the first game of that series, the Phillies got blown out 12-1. Those 12 runs were the most the Phillies have ever allowed in their 70-game history at Coors Field. And the Phillies were out-hit 18-2 that night. Those 16 hits were the most the Phillies have been out-hit since June of 2003, and that was so long ago that the Phillies pitchers in that game were Carlos Silva, Hector Mercado, Kevin Millwood, and it's so long ago that Adam Dunn led off for the Cincinnati Reds in that game.
You were still in diapers at that point in 2003, I think. That was so long.
Not quite.
Not quite. Let's go into the future, shall we? The future of fantasy baseball, and that's DraftStreet.com. And last week we looked at a couple of guys that did pretty well. Freddie Freeman I chose, and you saw him here in Philadelphia. Through Sunday, 8 hits in 5 days, 3 doubles, a home run, same old Freddie Freeman.
And he's one of the top first basemen in the league. You can't go wrong picking him every week.
And I also chose Rajay Davis, who had 2 steals last week, although he was relegated to 9th in the batting order for Detroit. But again, he was just an easy source of steals, and he was a guy that was available on the waiver wire, so why not take a flyer? It could have worked for you if you needed those steals.
Sure. One guy that I had last week that did really well too was Alfredo Simon of the Cincinnati Reds. He's now had 3 consecutive starts to begin the season where he's allowed 1 earned run or fewer. Last week, 6 innings, 1 run, and it was unearned. So if you picked him up, he gave you some innings there.
All right, let's go to this week's players that we're focusing in on, and we picked 3. You picked 2, and I picked 1. Who do you have?
Well, Justin Morneau killed the Phillies over the weekend. 9 RBIs at
Sure, you have to pick him.
Phillies. I have to because you know what? This is a former MVP candidate who's really fallen off the radar, especially because of how deep a position first base is. But he's hitting .360 at Coors Field with an 1,100 OPS, and the fact that he's going to be playing 81 games there, I want him on my team as a utility guy.
And my guy that I chose is third baseman Kevin Kuzminoff. You remember the name. He's back in the major leagues with the Texas Rangers. Adrian Beltre gets hurt. They bring this guy up. He's filled in nicely. And again, he's in deeper leagues if you need a third baseman or if you have Adrian Beltre on your roster and need that backup. Kevin Kuzminoff, he could do worse, and he does play in Texas, so you would expect some offense.
And one guy to keep an eye on, too, if you want to snag him right away, if you need a closer, Kyle Farnsworth, the veteran pitcher on the Mets.
Still around.
Yeah, last Sunday was named the closer by the Mets, took Jose Valverde's job. I don't know if Farnsworth is going to hold on to it for too long, but the Mets don't really have any other internal options.
That is Fantasy Baseball brought to you by DraftStreet.com, the future of fantasy sports. It's free one-day leagues where you can win cash prizes, and the promo code is Phillies Nation. You can sign up for the free one-day fantasy leagues there. This week, they're featuring a $100,000 league. Check it out. We could be rich.
Oh, let's do it, man.
How about that? The trivia question, you got to go to Twitter for this one, #PNTrivia. Last week, though, first, Ryan Braun had 3 homers and 7 RBIs Tuesday a couple of weeks ago. There were 3 other players against the Phillies that had hit 3 home runs and knocked in 7 or more runs against the Phillies since 2000. Can you name them?
I know Jason Giambi was one of them.
That's
a couple
correct.
years ago against the Rockies, when the Phillies played the Rockies, and I do remember Arubio Durazo
No,
being one
you
of them.
do not.
I do because I remember that 2002 game listening on radio. I think I was actually coming back from a baseball game of my own listening on radio.
that right?
And he was killing the Phillies. I don't know who the other guy was.
I don't believe you, but the other one was Mark McGwire back in 2000. This week's trivia question, again, #PNTrivia. Who was the first player Cole Hamels struck out looking to begin his career?
I'll give you a hint. Superstar.
Superstar, that is it. And that's it for us here on Phillies Nation. Thank yous all around. Thank you to 2020. Brian Michael behind the camera as well. Also, Ryan and Jay for his great stuff from Lakewood. Thank you, of course, to BQ Basement Systems and McStew's Irish Pub here in Levittown, PA. He's Corey. I'm Pat. We'll see you next week here on Phillies Nation.